What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of KO Your Brand, the personal branding podcast for fame ready entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Katrina Owens, top personal branding and public relations expert, and uh, I I'm at a loss for words. I I'm I almost nailed that intro, almost, and I'm so hesitant to just re-record, but hey, you know what? Even I even I have been at a loss for words recently. So this, it's funny. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to see I'm in my very cute, very green and white outfit because I'm playing golf today and I'm feeling really excited about it, but it's fucking raining. And it was such a gorgeous weekend. And this is the very first golf event that I'm playing in. Um, I wanted to say ever, but if you know me and you've known me for a while, you'll know that there was a past life of mine where I did golf. I did play in different charity golf tournaments and that sort of thing, but I haven't in so long. And last year when I started taking golf lessons, that was one of the things I really wanted to be able to do, but with confidence. I wanted to be able to sign up for golf events, play golf with people that I don't know, and feel really good about my game. And I'm so happy to report that I'm there. I'm there. I am super confident in my playing abilities. Obviously, it's golf, so there's so much work to continuously do, but I feel confident enough to be able to play in different events. And what's really cool is tonight I'm playing in an event where the other women in my foursome are also women that I met through Women with Drive Golf and Social Club, which is another business that I run. If you follow me on Instagram, you might know that. But yeah, that's a whole separate world. But I really, yeah, am passionate about golf and building up my confidence in that sport. And I find that the confidence I build through playing golf translates over into the confidence that I have just as a business owner and all of that. So super cool. That's why I'm dressed like this. As I was getting ready this morning, I was like, should I just wear my sweats up until I have to go to the course? And I was like, no, show the people the golf outfits. Cause it's funny, actually. This weekend, I did a big closet clean out and I got rid of so much stuff. I basically anything that I hadn't worn in the last year was we're no longer holding on to this. So I did one of two things with those articles of clothing. I ended up putting together a bag of clothes, really big bag of clothes that are still great condition, but aren't necessarily clothes that hold their value. So for those of you that don't know, actually I've probably never I've only started to share this. I have about 10,000 followers on the app Poshmark. Used it for a very long time and I've made thousands of dollars selling my old clothes. Makes me feel really good about, um, you know, constantly recycling and I take really good care of my clothes and I love buying clothes, but it makes me feel good about the habit to be able to repost them on that app, sell them, and give clothes a new life. But not every single article of clothing is obviously a great fit for Poshmark. On that site, it's not you can be reselling basics. The clothes that do really well are pieces that are a bit more expensive to begin with, are a bit more unique. Like the outfit that I'm wearing right now, I could probably post on Poshmark and make quite a bit of money from it. But I do love this outfit, so it's not getting listed anytime soon. But anything that isn't great for Poshmark, I end up putting together this bag of clothes that I then post in my local neighborhood group. And I'm basically hey, I have this lot of women's clothing, size extra small. Whoever first come, first serve, whoever messages me first, we can set up a time for you to pick it up. This one I had specified because there were quite a few dresses in it. And I know in the past, like I've had moms, because this is like the fourth time I've done this, and like sometimes it's a mom that's picking up clothes for her daughter, but the clothes in this particular round, like there were some dresses, quite a few like business casual stuff. So I had actually like indicated in the post, I was like, this is ideally like a great like thing of clothes for someone who is like a working woman and an adult woman, just because there are some dresses. Like, I'm not claiming that I'm like super conservative when it comes to how I dress. So, I got like a fun side. I love a crop top. So I wanted that to be super clear. So what was really cool is obviously I got a ton of messages, but I kind of write in the post, like, I'm only going to respond to one person at a time. If the pickup doesn't work out or someone ends up not wanting it, then, go to the next person. And like, I don't let the people like look through the, the clothes or anything. It's like, it's going to be in a bag. It's going to be at my door. Pick it up when you want, and just like enjoy. So what was really cool is the woman that I ended up connecting with to give her my clothes to, she had just said that she had just started a new job and she was really struggling with what to wear. So she was really excited that, she was getting these free clothes. And in true karmic fashion, I, cleaned out my closet, and there was an energetic um, point for me doing this as well, because I'm really trying to shed this old identity that I still like have clinging on inside for dear life. And that identity is like corporate good girl Katrina, who still doesn't believe a lot of things are possible for herself. And so part of me really doing this big closet clean out this weekend was to, kind of stir up the energy and shed that version of me that is no longer, it's no longer true for me. And it's funny, I was so exhausted after cleaning out my closet, I couldn't actually believe it. Because I was just like, I think energetically, like, I would try different things on, and I'm kind of getting emotional talking about it right now. That's so weird. I was kind of getting emotional when I would try on like different blazers or dresses that I wore like throughout my corporate career. And like I hadn't worn some of this stuff in literally years. Although it was very nice clothes, I just don't have a purpose for it anymore. And although I still will wear a blazer or, something a bit more corporate once in a while, obviously my tastes have changed too. So there's I think like entrepreneur Katrina has much different style than corporate Katrina used to. So yeah, I was so exhausted. But what was really funny is I was kind of going through this spiral the whole day of like, okay, I'm shedding this old identity and, going to get rid of all these clothes. And I am a mentor and also a mentee inside the Living in Balance space. And whenever we're kind of having a spiral or like feeling uncomfortable or discomfort around like certain things in our business, we try to shift that energy somewhere else. So that was kind of what I was doing. I was feeling uncomfortable about some things in my business. So I'm like, instead of like spending my Saturday spiraling, I'm going to, shift the energy somewhere else. And what ended up happening, I'm going to talk about it in this week's Pulling Punches a little bit more because it's a great quick hit. But I ended up making a sale through a funnel that I have set up, a $2,000 sale. Didn't even have to talk to the person, but that was based on like my personal brand and my sales funnel alone. And I do attribute that energy shift to, okay, I went from like spiraling in the morning, woke up Saturday morning feeling a certain type of way, and I just really shifted, really, really shifted all of the energy and my thoughts and feelings. And, I share all of this because it is such an important part of being an entrepreneur. I don't really, I'm not particularly religious, although I was raised that way and my family is. I would say I'm more spiritual at this point. It's not to say that I won't go back to being more religious at some point in my life, but right now I believe in other things, and that's okay. But I do think having that spiritual or religious connection, whatever it is, as an entrepreneur is crucial. And knowing that there's different ways to shift energy and to realign yourself with that person you want to be, it's really important. And now that I'm looking at the clock and I see I've talked about this for 10 minutes, I'm like, holy, how many people turned off this episode? Because they're like, where's the personal branding and PR? And I think that just comes up for me because earlier on in this podcast, there was an episode I did where I front loaded it with a bit more personal stuff. I mean, you heard me talk about this the other week on the podcast. Your personal brand does not equal your personal life, but having like elements of you as a person come through all of your content is really important. It's actually something we're going to talk a bit more about today. But this podcast is a very like intimate way for my audience to get to know me. I mean, this whole story, me giving away these clothes, the energetic shift, like that's not something that like I would really create like a social media post about, but it is part of your identity as a personal brand. And it takes me kind of explaining it, taking the 10 minutes to walk through this, to show you that this is the side of me. This is how I continue to step up into the personal brand I want to be. So that's why I share this. I have a little bit of insecurity around sharing stuff like this because earlier on in this podcast, like I was saying, when I first started releasing episodes, there was one that I did where I front loaded it with the more personal story. And I got this message like a couple days later from someone who was like, love the episode, but like you could totally cut out the first 15 minutes because the rest of the content was so good. And I was like, oh, okay. So like the first 15 minutes when I like, give a little bit of some background or context on where I'm coming from. Perfect. Noted. And you know what? That person just isn't like my ideal client or my ideal audience member at this point, because for me, how I, move as an entrepreneur, how I go throughout my weekends, my day to day, like that is an important part of it, guys. The version of Katrina that you guys see and have the chance to listen to, I am her most of the time, but it takes a lot of inner work to be her. And for a lot of time earlier on in my business, when I first started being an entrepreneur, there was a disconnect between what I felt like on the inside and who people saw on the outside. So the fact that I'm now like so aligned with the person, like I feel like the person I've always wanted to be, I am her, I act like her, like that type of alignment is so beautiful when you can achieve it. And I think sometimes we discount how much work that actually takes. So that's my spiel. Okay. Let's get into the episode today, which honestly is all about the importance of social media and public relations going hand in hand, because PR is a great way to amplify your story, and to really whatever you're doing on social media, PR allows you to kick it up a notch. But interestingly enough, and I don't really experience this now, I think because I'm really good at educating on the topic. Actually, I shouldn't even say that because I am kind of going through that right now. Actually, was just working on this one email follow up to a client today where I was talking a bit about it. You need social media to see success using public relations. And a lot of times business owners think, oh, I don't want to do social media anymore. I don't want to have to rely on the algorithm. I don't want to have to use it so much. They think that they can replace their social media efforts with public relations efforts instead. And that's just not true. The two go hand in hand. They rely on each other for success. And so today I want to talk to you a bit about why that's so important, why that is the case, and then really practical ways on what that looks like for you as you build what I call a press ready personal brand. Because when you are using social media to grow your personal brand, that's what you're doing. You're creating a press ready brand. And that's how you start to see more and more opportunities come in. So this is such a great episode. Honestly, I am so excited to dive in because it's a topic that I was like, oh yeah, I really need to talk about this because it's such a foundational piece of what I believe in. But I hadn't yet created like a long form piece of content around it. So let's get into it. So social media really is like the most important part of your public relations and personal brand strategy. And I'll give you an example of and this is actually a great example of why I actually stopped offering done for you public relations um, back, last year is when I ended. I'm going to give you this client story example. This is one of the very first clients that I ever worked with. It was a very, very, very large company out of California that had hired me to be their PR consultant. And it was super early on in my business, but I said yes. And it was very hard to successfully secure high quality PR opportunities for this particular client because they were totally dead on social media. And I kept saying to them, listen, I'm not going to be able to secure opportunities for you if you don't have a consistent social media presence. And they were an organization, so I wasn't even at the time like, hey, let's put a personal brand to it, because they weren't even consistently showing up like an organization. And that was the first thing that they needed. The second thing that they needed was actually someone to like kind of step up to the plate and be the spokesperson. That's the job of the founder. If you're the founder of an organization and you want to start securing more and more PR opportunities for your organization, that's on you. That's not on the marketing manager. That's not on like an agency. I remember one company I worked for as a corporate employee, they were like, you are the face of the company now, and you are going to go out and promote the company. And you're the face. And it was at a time when I was like starting to feel a bit entrepreneurial on the inside. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, the founders are the face. What, like, you cannot build your company around like one of your like managerial team members being the face just because they're like cute and fun and extroverted. It's insane. So anyways, obviously that didn't work out for the company, because I was like, if I'm going to be the face of anything, it's my own business. And I mean, look, it's never been more true as it is right now. So super, super cool. Um, so anyways, to go back to this original client that I was talking about, they were super against just having consistent social media presence. Generally, they wanted PR to come first, but that was not the case. And at the same time, the founder just wasn't really into participating, which was also a problem. So needless to say, I eventually ended up breaking up with that client because I just couldn't, in good faith, give them the results that they needed from a PR perspective if they couldn't put the proper brand fundamentals in place yet, like a consistent social media presence. So that was that. And that was actually one of the reasons why I was like, being like a fractional PR gal, a publicist, a PR agency just isn't for me anymore, because I know that to see really meaningful results from PR, and by meaningful results, I mean not just like media impressions, but actual like tangible ROI, whether that's, increased opportunities, increased sales. I knew if I wanted to see that kind of stuff, I couldn't just do media outreach anymore, because that's not how that happens, right? Like, I think I've talked a lot about this. We can't expect that just getting placed in like Vogue magazine or the New York Times, which were places that this client was actually featured, can't expect that those placements are actually going to move the needle on some of the tangible results you want to see if you're not doing the other things to grow your brand. So, the core reason why I believe so strongly that social media is such an important part of PR is because you can't expect anyone else to tell your story for you if you're not sharing it first yourself. So, like, you have a unique perspective to share, you have interesting insights, you have educational topics, like, you have all of these things. But if you're not taking the time to like share them on your own platform and create content around them, why the fuck should anybody else? Like, you're not giving people a reason to care about the content. Like, if you aren't working to carve out your own platform with all of this important information and insights, then why would a journalist or a podcast host say, okay, you clearly don't give a shit about the content that much, but sure, I'll talk about it on my platform. It doesn't work that way. like, you have to make people care about the things that you're talking about. So that is why you must really take your social media efforts super, super seriously. And here's the other thing, because like I see this a lot with like people that want to be speakers. It's like, okay, why would someone just welcome you up onto their stage if they've never seen you like speak on the topics that you claim to speak on, or like if they've never seen you share your perspective before? Like, you can't expect someone to just trust you with like their stage or their audience like that. So your social media platforms are the proof. They're the evidence that you're an expert. And yeah, PR amplifies that and really gives it that extra like validation and builds the authority. But you've got to do the groundwork to build the foundation. And that's what people are very, very quick to forget and bypass. So, PR really is this core piece of like your funnel, your visibility strategy, your brand, all of that. And I know that sounds like a freaking lot. So what I want to do now is just like break things down for you in a really manageable way. So this is kind of like a little taste of what you get inside the Fame Ready Entrepreneur Program, which is my group coaching container. I'm also going to share some principles that I actually share exclusively with my one-on-one clients. So when I work one-on-one with a client, we always start with a personal brand strategy, and that includes a social media strategy within that. That is how seriously I take social media when it comes to PR. I'm not even building out a media list, a PR strategy, speaker notes, any of those things until I know what it looks like when you show up on social media first. So when I'm advising a client on their kind of social media strategy, there are a couple of things that have to be like in mind. So there are 4 content pillars or content buckets that I always suggest to clients. And I know there is so much chatter online about like what content pillars actually are, what they should be, blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to offer you mine. Mine don't change depending on who the client is, because I believe there are 4 types of content that every single personal brand needs to have to be press ready. It doesn't change. And this is like so clients work with me because they want to be the authority in their space. So to be the authority in your space, you've got to have like 4 different pieces of content that exemplify why you are the authority. That really is like the baseline, like why I do this. So I'll give you some context and an example of what each one is. So the first one is storytelling content. This is like where you really bring the personal into the personal brand. But like I discussed a couple weeks ago, it is not your personal life. Anytime I do a storytelling post, it is to adequately share a little piece of me, give people a taste for like what I'm like, what my life is like, but it's always bookended with something that refers back to my business. So I actually want to give you like tangible examples from my own social media feed. We're going to use Instagram as the example here. So okay, let me just see. So a really great example of storytelling content from me right now is this post that I did when I got back from Hawaii. Essentially, it is a carousel post of me and all these vacation photos, gorgeous vacation photos that I took. So I'm going to read you the caption because you're going to start to understand what storytelling sounds like. So I said, picture this. Your best friend calls you on a random Monday night and asks if you want to go to Hawaii in a couple weeks. Do you say A, let me check my schedule, B, let me check my bank account, or C, hell yes, obviously? For so long, I would always be an A or B kind of girl. Even after I left corporate and became self-employed, my schedule was so tightly packed with client work, excessive meetings, and deadlines that would disrupt months of planning and revenue if anything shifted even a little bit. I believe that's what they call your business is running you, and it's the norm for so many of us, but it doesn't have to be. The opportunity to shift my entire business model has been the greatest gift I've ever given myself. the confidence to plan my life how I want it to be, to say yes to quality time with loved ones, and a deep sense of trust that this is actually the way it's supposed to be, even if it feels too good to be true. The work I've done in the Living in Balance seminar space over the last few months has been the key to creating a life and business that truly feels so well lived. And I'm honored to say that I've begun my own mentoring journey in the space as well, so I can start to help other female business owners architect their literal dream lives too. Thank you to my mentors who continuously encourage me to book the trip. Thank you to my amazing best friend, Rachel, for always including me in her adventures. And thank you to Gabriel, who never questions how many vacation days I take and always makes sure the dogs are well loved while I'm gone. I might just be the luckiest girl I know. Chef's kiss. That was actually like one of the highest engaged posts that I had in a while. And storytelling posts often are, because people love to see that personal side of ours. But what I didn't do here was like explain my trip. So this is where people get personal brand and personal life confused. If this was a personal life post, it would have been more like, had an amazing time in Hawaii, went to Turtle Bay, stayed in Waikiki, climbed Diamond Head, went on a sunset sail on a catamaran, blah, blah, blah. No, this is a very strategic storytelling post because I am showing my audience that it is possible to live a life like mine if you implement certain things. There's a very, very soft call to action in here. In this one, this was encouraging people in my community to learn more about living in balance, which is the mentorship space that I'm in. It's completely changed my life. It's something that I'm really passionate about sharing with others. So if there was a soft CTA in that post, that's what this was. So that's storytelling. Storytelling is sharing more of the personal side, but always still linking it back to your personal brand. Okay. Even if you don't do a hard CTA at the end of your posts, I mean, you should be doing it on some of them, doesn't have to be all of them. But if you're not, then you still need to think to yourself, what is the call to action of this post? So in this particular one, it was, trying to elevate the profile of living in balance, because I'm now mentoring in that space. I'm really passionate about bringing other business owners who are interested in learning more about that into the world as well. Okay. So let's talk about authority content. A really great example of authority content recently is an Instagram live that I did with one of my clients, Cindy Kumar, who has some really epic public relations results. So if you go to my Instagram profile, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm trying to give you visuals of what these look like. So this is a live. The caption says, when it's Cindy Kumar came to me wanting to invest in her PR efforts, she was ready to stop hiding behind her accountant persona and share more of her with the world. And she quickly found that the world really did want more of her bold perspective, her support, and her insights that transform women-owned businesses. In this live, Cindy and I chat about the incredible results she's seen in just 30 days of strategic public relations for her personal brand. A paid speaking gig, 10 plus media features, a radio interview in NYC, and this is just the beginning. So if you're ready to start seeing results like Cindy, this is your sign to start taking your personal brand seriously and invest in taking your visibility to the next level with PR for your personal brand. So that is an authority building content because I'm doing a live. Doesn't always have to be a live, could be a carousel, could be a reel, but I'm sharing tangible client results. This is a client who's willing to come on Instagram with me and share all of the results she's achieved through working with me. Nothing builds more authority than that. That is how you really start to position yourself as an expert, as a credible personal brand in your space. Other authority building content could be like if you've been featured in the media or if you're speaking at different events, promoting that type of content is also really great for building your authority. Anything that really elevates the profile and like backs you up as a professional is going to be authority building content. Next one is specific educational content. So specific educational is like tangible tips, but not like generic fluff. So let's see, what's a great example of that? Okay, so this is one. It's a reel. So it's a talking head, and the headline is, "This is why you're not getting asked to speak on stage." And then it's content of me talking to the camera, telling someone why they're probably not ready to start speaking on a stage. And it's so funny. This is how I knew that that particular specific educational piece was working. I had a discovery call, I think either the same day or in the same week that that was posted. And that potential client on the call actually repeated that post back to me. And she said, "I saw your Instagram reel about, like, you know, what you talk about when you get on stage. And I realized that I don't have that. And so I realized that I do need that to be able to be a speaker and really elevate my profile." So that's how I know that that is a really strong, specific educational piece, because I posted that and it made somebody realize that they needed something. And yeah, I mean, it was educational enough to help someone realize where they had their own gap. Finally, unique position content. Oh, I just posted one today. So it's this like trend, the propaganda I'm not falling for. It's a B-roll reel, which I had this like gorgeous kind of like oh god, this could be sacrilegious, but it's kind of like holy, because it's like I took it on the balcony in Hawaii and like the sun's hitting just right and I'm in a robe, and then I'm laughing because I told myself I wasn't going to do this on this podcast, but the song that I used has been stuck in my head all like for the past 2 weeks, because it's the theme song to Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. If anybody's been watching it, I know my audience loves reality TV. So the song is like, actually, I think you can play less than 15 seconds of a song on the podcast. So instead of me singing this, which is not going to be good for any of us, Heather, can you drop like 15, less than 15 seconds of the Sweet Temptations Secret Lives of Mormon Wives? Can you drop that right now just so people can get the vibe? I'm going to pause here just. Okay, so now you get the point. So what makes that a really strong, unique positioning piece of content is because the whole thing is like propaganda I'm not falling for. And then I write, public relations is just for big businesses and celebrities. You need to pay an agency or publicist to secure opportunities for you. You have to have thousands of followers to build a profitable personal brand, blah, 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 blah. So I basically called out all of these pillars of my unique position on this post. And so that is a very, very easy post for someone to like look at, see it, and be like, "Oh, okay, I know exactly what this person helps with," because it really shows all of my beliefs in one. And just like that kind of like sacrilegious holy feel was kind of fun for me, but maybe, maybe I'm going to hell for that. Anyways, okay, moving on. So those are the 4 types of content every single personal brand needs to be able to build a profitable personal brand and a press-ready personal brand. So in every single one-on-one client strategy I do, I actually map out what that pillar looks like for that particular client. So mapping it out, explaining to them what it looks like, giving an example. And then for all my one-on-one clients, I actually create a whole template of very, very specific content prompts that show them exactly what those content pillars look like in action. And what's really cool about that is they can literally take that, copy it, and freaking paste it into ChatGPT and generate more and more really hyper specific personal brand content for themselves, like without having to pay me to do it every single month. So shameless flex, because my strategies are pretty killer. Okay, so now that you know your content types, how does this actually look like when we go to execute it online? So I always say start with one platform. I would rather you pick one platform, get really, really good at being consistent, minimum 3 posts per week, and then build from there. So for me, that's Instagram. I really like prioritize Instagram as my main platform, I post between 3 to 5 times a week. There are some weeks when I have posted 7 times a week, and that's just on the feed. I try to show up on stories every single day. I do try to give myself a 24-hour break sometimes, just because they do say that it's really important to let like the Instagram stories algorithm reset so you can start to bring in more views. So I've started to get really good about that as well, because I have noticed that that helps. But on the feed, minimum 3 times per week, all the way up to 7 times per week. I've mastered that. I'm really in the flow when it comes to content. Now I have so much B-roll, talking heads, photos. I have graphics that I can post showcasing different media features that I have. And that is how I know that I am so crystal clear on my own personal brand, right? It's not hard for me to create content. It's actually so easy. I'm never sitting there thinking like, oh, what should I post today? I'm always like, I'm going to post, or I'm going to see what the latest trends are, and I'm going to do a post that kind of relates to that. So that's how I know I've really found my groove. So Instagram is my number one priority. And then I would say my number two priority is LinkedIn. So right now I post on LinkedIn minimum 1 time per week, because I do a weekly LinkedIn editorial or weekly LinkedIn newsletter called The Editorial. So what this is it's a long form piece of content that gets sent out to all of the subscribers. Have like 200 and something subscribers on it right now, which is pretty good. Started it back in January as a test. So I cannot believe that I've been able to maintain this. Actually, fuck that. I can believe that I have been able to maintain this, because I'm disciplined as fuck. That's why I've been so successful. I'm not the kind of person that like starts something and then lets it drop off because I don't have time. I make the time. I'm so committed. So yeah, here I am giving myself some more fucking credit for all of these results. Because you're probably going to listen to all of this and be like, where do I have the time? And that's when I say, you got to make the time, babe. You have to make the time for your personal brand. So every single week, I write a LinkedIn editorial that goes out once per week, and that's one post. I do really try to post around 3 times per week on LinkedIn. I find LinkedIn is quite challenging for me because of this like former corporate identity that I like used to have. And I still sometimes feel a bit impostery on LinkedIn, especially because I have such strong opinions around like agencies and publicists. No one has ever, I mean, I'm sure it's coming, but no one has ever like left me a scathing comment or message based on my views. But hey, it's what I believe in. And yeah, the bolder we get in our opinions, the more likely people are going to disagree with us. And that's something I'm getting comfortable with. And so that's why I'm always trying to like push myself to post on LinkedIn, even though it does feel uncomfortable. But, you know, I have gotten some great clients from LinkedIn. I think it's really important from a presence perspective. So I'm sticking to it, even though it gives me anxiety. After that, this is a new thing. Okay, so we've got Instagram, we've got LinkedIn. I would say my number 3 is Threads. I really love Threads. I've gotten clients from Threads. I've gotten hella email subscribers from Threads, a lot of Instagram followers. Threads, I feel like I thrive on because it's so good for the written word. I'm a very strong writer and can really communicate myself like in short, concise bits, which is really like what Threads focuses on. So if that sounds like you, if you're someone who like doesn't always love showing up on camera, Threads is a really great way to build a following too. Now, I've actually like really started to master my rhythm for an omnipresence, because I have just started also posting on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. So obviously for the podcast, I was already posting the long form videos on YouTube, but I have so many talking head videos that are professionally done because I tend to hire someone to do those for me, like, you know, every couple months. And obviously there's so many clips from the podcast, like YouTube short verticals that Heather creates. So now I've really gotten into the rhythm of repurposing all of that talking head content onto YouTube Shorts. And actually, one of my videos has gotten over like 1,000 views so far, which is one of I would say my highest performing YouTube post. And YouTube is really great for like SEO. What I do love is that it's not like a meta platform, right? So we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket when it comes to social media. We really want to diversify our efforts. So I feel great about also like posting content over on YouTube Shorts. And I'm also getting more and more comfortable with posting on TikTok. TikTok really scares me because I feel old and I don't know if I'm doing it right. But I know that when I scroll TikTok, it's a lot of like super casual content where people are like short and funny. And I know I have that in me. It's just not something I'm like great at like capturing or recording. So I'm working on it. But that just goes to show you, I'm literally, how many platforms was that? Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, YouTube, TikTok. That is 5 social media platforms, plus my podcast, which I religiously record 2 episodes per week, plus my email marketing, which I at minimum send out 2 per week. To promote the podcast episodes because they act as a funnel in itself. But also, if I'm doing a launch or if I have more to promote, then I'll take that up to 3. So that's what it takes, you guys. That's what it takes. But if you're listening to all of that and you're like immediately overwhelmed, it's okay. I want you to start with one platform, and how you choose that platform is where your target audience is. So if you don't know who your ideal client is, that's a problem. That is a fundamental piece of building a personal brand, especially one that's press ready. So I want you to, maybe work with ChatGPT on that, really workshop that to figure out who you're talking to, because that is really going to help you understand if you should be using Instagram or Threads or LinkedIn or TikTok. Like, you got to prioritize the channel where your audience is, because that's how you're going to make more money, bring in more tangible results. So that's where I would start. And then when it comes to content, I had mentioned earlier that I am frequently capturing like really professional talking heads. So that's like, talking heads is like the content that if you see somebody who like kind of, is set up where they're like, maybe they're speaking into a microphone or maybe they're just like casually chatting. Let me do some quick math. I've spent probably around $5,000 on investing in that type of content since January, because that is the content that shows you are an expert. So if you're not getting professional photo and video of you done, you are really missing an amazing opportunity to elevate your brand. One of the experts that I look up to, Brittany Hahn, is always talking about perceived value. The more professional that your content looks, the higher value you portray yourselves to be, which is so important when it comes to personal brand. You can't be looking like you shot your video content on like an iPhone 3. Like, it's got to look top notch and crystal clear, and it's got to portray the value of the content you're actually delivering. They need to match. Otherwise, people aren't going to watch it or listen in. So I recommend making that investment. And when it comes to like content shoots, I typically suggest to clients like, hey, aim for like 1 content shoot per quarter. That's new photo and video. When you reach a certain point in your personal brand, you actually won't have to do that anymore. So for me, I'm more now in the flow. Whenever I identify a good opportunity for new content, I'll just book it. Tends to be more often than quarterly right now, but I also speak at a lot of events. I also like really try to take advantage of the content that comes from this podcast and trying to get good at capturing my own too. I have so much B-roll and photography that at this point I'm not sure I'll ever like use it all, honestly. But that's the place you want to get to, right? The more you can like create different types of content or like platforms for yourself, like a podcast or YouTube, or if you're hosting master classes, you can get that type of video chopped up too. Or if you're going on podcasts or speaking at events, all of that content is so good. And the more that you can show yourself doing different things, the more you visually show your audience just how much of an expert you really are. Because now it's like, one day you're showing content from you at an event. The next time you're showing content of you recording a podcast, and the next time it's you walking. Like, it is just like very gives like this really holistic, well-rounded personal brand approach, which I believe opens up the door for more influential opportunities. So we talked a little bit about this last time. Your personal brand and personal life are different. Influencers and personal brands are different, but just because you're a personal brand and not an influencer does not mean you're not influential. The more you integrate different parts of your personal brand into, your content, the more you open yourself up to like potential brand partnerships or different opportunities that you might not have thought would come across your desk before. Really great example of this is, I'm wearing this amazing outfit from the golf brand For All. I'm actually a For All ambassador. I will put my discount code in the show notes in case you're interested. I believe it's like 15%. But that's the thing, right? I got that promo code from my Katrina Owens PR account because I've got the golf gals over there. But then For All also knows that I co-run Women with Drive Golf and Social Club. So that's how that happens. And that's because, I made golf like this fractional part of my personal brand, which carries over into another business venture that I have. So that's this influential personal brand type of thing in action. Okay, so just before we go, how do you know if your social media efforts are working? And I'm going to talk about this from a PR perspective. So when I talk about a personal brand being press ready, I say that the number one indicator that you are press ready, that you have set up a uniquely positioned personal brand, is that opportunities come to you. You're not spending all your time doing outreach or pitching. Like you can open up your email inbox and like a journalist wants to interview you, or you have a DM from someone who wants you to speak on their stage or their podcast. That's how you know your social media efforts are working, because you're no longer having to do outreach. You're not looking for the opportunities. The opportunities are finding you. So if they're not, that's a really great sign that the content you are delivering or posting is not showcasing you as an authoritative personal brand. And that's something I can help with, but that's something that I can really support in my one-on-one programs, because I need to be able to tell you exactly the type of content that you should be creating. If you just want to know more about like, okay, what type of content does convert, or can you audit my Instagram bio? That's the type of stuff that I do inside the Fame Ready Entrepreneur program. So if you're like listening to this podcast and you've heard me talk about social media and PR, and you're like, okay, I really want to understand more about how social media impacts PR, you want to join the Fame Ready Entrepreneur program, which is my year-long coaching container and community. You can join at any time. The link is in the show notes, but in that program, you can digest all of the content and trainings that I have on this topic. I also am planning to bring in social media experts to tell you more about how to show up on these platforms. And on the weekly coaching calls, you can pop on and ask me anything that you want me to kind of review or look at when it comes to your social media presence too. So that's what that makes that program so awesome. And joining the Fame Ready Entrepreneur program is a really great way to understand if my coaching style and how I teach personal branding and public relations really jives with you. I really always recommend it to people who are like, I think this is something that I want to do more of. I'm not sure yet. Start there. It's my one-on-one programs start at $5,000. So joining the Fame Ready Entrepreneur program, which is $1,600 for the whole year, is a great way to make an investment in yourself, but just to see if that really is like your next step, and if you and I like vibe, right? Because coaching is personal, and my style is obviously not the same as everybody else's, but for the personal brands and the personal brands and the business owners that like working with me, they love working with me. So many of my clients have now been with me for quite a while, which is very powerful, and I so appreciate that. So I believe that wraps it up. Did we cover everything? Let me take a quick look at my list. Yeah. I hope you love this episode, you guys. I know I kind of went on a bit of a ramble at the beginning, but I feel like you guys are going to like that part. because that's something that, if you're a podcast listener, that's kind of privileged information, right? That's not something I've actually shared with a broader audience, not something that I post on social media. And I hope that this episode gives you a bit more context on like what does it look like to like post on social media versus what types of content do you cover on a podcast? Like these things all intertwine, but they also must be very, very different. So obviously, I treat my podcast listeners like kind of a top tier audience because it means so much to me that you are listening in week after week and finding value in this. So if you loved this episode, please make sure you rate and review this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe. I'm really trying to like build up that subscriber base, so it would mean the world to me if you would do that. We talked a lot about social media here today. So how about heading over to Instagram and giving me a follow at Katrina Owens PR? You can follow the podcast Instagram at KO Your Brand. I'm also on LinkedIn. Find me Katrina Owens PR on Threads, Katrina Owens PR on TikTok, and KO Your Brand on YouTube. So really enjoyed this one. Please let me know if you loved it as much as I did, and I will see you all next week. Toodles.